Hi, it's Kim Boon. We're finally at nomination day and a couple more hours before we go wild with our GE 2025 predictions. Meanwhile, I thought we'd spend some time talking about a Workers' Party controversy that happened in the last couple of days. So everyone must have noticed this by now about the Workers' Party. They have kept their candidate slate close to their chest. Even now, they have limited their candidates' exposure to in-house marketing and to very selected media interviews. And rightfully so, I would think. No sense to overly expose your candidates, especially the more promising ones. And that turns out that was the right instinct. About 2 weeks ago, Yah Lah BUT podcast did an interview with Mr. Harpreet Singh. If you haven't heard this name before, I have 2 videos that I've done on him in the description for you to get caught up. So Mr. Harpreet has been dubbed one of WP's superstar in this election. And the moment he gave that interview, the attack dogs were already out for blood over a comment that he made. So was he wrong or was he right? Let's dig into all of that now. Mr. Harpreet Singh was asked about his thoughts on the WP being called PAP Lite. If you have no idea what that means, that was a term that was popularized by Minister Vivian Balakrishnan during a GE 2020 debate.
I read your manifesto, and actually, to be honest with you, we could have written the same manifesto.
We like that.
And that's why people have called the Workers' Party PAP Lite or PAP-like. It's almost a position where whatever line or stand the PAP has taken, you basically use that as your reference point, then take a half step to the left.
So in the Yah Lah BUT podcast, Mr. Harpreet first went into the areas of alignment between WP and PAP.
Let's talk about the things that we agree with. As I said, there are many things in Singapore that I and the Workers' Party agree with that we will preserve and that will not change. Our system of meritocracy, our commitment to incorruptibility, race relations, a world-class civil service, right, etc., the ideals in our flag, those are all givens. Any responsible, sensible political party will take that as part of Singapore's rich legacy that's non-negotiable. Now, that doesn't make us PAP Lite.
My initial reaction was that this was a missed opportunity for Mr. Harpreet and the WP. Why though? So while the term PAP Lite was intended as a slight on the WP, I felt that it actually moved swing voters towards them. Think of it this way. What is the biggest resistance to voting for the alternative? The risks of the unknown. So the starting point for WP is always disadvantaged. And even if they matched the value proposition of PAP, there will still be a stickiness for the incumbent. So the challenge has always been to demonstrate overwhelming value in order to convince voters to vote WP. So what Minister Vivian unwittingly did, in my opinion, is to make WP and PAP analogous. So instead of PAP Lite as in lousier, the narrative became PAP Lite as in the same. So he essentially de-risked the alternative and put the WP on the same starting point as the PAP. And now the WP, instead of having to show overwhelming value, they just need to show that they have more value, which is exactly what they did that saw them win Sengkang GRC in GE 2020. So I thought that Mr. Harpreet could have gone down this line of discussion instead of what happened during the interview, where a point of controversy arose when he went into the differences between PAP and WP.
Let's think about the areas that we are different. You remember when the PAP said Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam will not be put up as PM because some Singaporeans are just not ready for a non-Chinese PM. That, I think, was a slap on every Singaporean's face. It went against our principle of meritocracy, went against our principle of equality of all races. You will never, ever, ever hear that from the Workers' Party. We are committed to multiculturalism, committed to, multiracialism and meritocracy, and the best man or woman for any role will be pushed forward.
Let me context this. I'm going to be fair to Mr. Harpreet because this was more than an hour into the interview, and unlike me, who can keyboard warrior and take time to reflect, he had to answer on the spot. So the real question is this: was he right or wrong? Let's go back to the incident that Mr. Harpreet was referring to. It was 2019, then Finance Minister Mr. Heng Keat was widely known to be the next Prime Minister in waiting. And Minister Heng was at an NTU forum and was asked an interesting question. And the question was this: is it Singapore who is not ready for a non-Chinese Prime Minister, or is it the PAP who is not ready for a non-Chinese Prime Minister? There were two data points behind the question. The first data point: then DPM Taman was very popular based on his constituency election results. Let's look at that quickly. Mr. Taman has been an anchor minister in former Jurong GRC for many election cycles. Looking at the last three, he won GE2020 with 74% of the votes. Before that, GE2015 with 79%, and then GE2011, another win of 67%. Overwhelmingly positive. Second data point: there was a survey done by a market research company, Black Box, in 2016. In that survey, there were almost 900 respondents, and 69% indicated that they would support Mr. Taman as Prime Minister, beating out the rest of the theoretical competition by quite a lot. So with these two data points, I thought that the question on Singaporeans' readiness for a non-Chinese PM was a valid one. To be honest, I was quite baffled by Minister Heng Keat's answer. You can read his reply as reported by Today Online so that I don't misrepresent it. But my two biggest point of contention are this. First, Mr. Heng is basing his views on his own experiences walking the ground rather than empirical information. So to give you an analogy, I don't like durian, my sister and mom don't like durian too, so based on my family, I decided that Singaporeans don't like durian. I don't think that makes sense at all because we are 3 people out of 5 million Singaporeans. My second point of contention: it seems that Minister Heng was prioritizing the opinions of selected demographics. I mean, he acknowledged that the younger audience of 700 in the forum would be okay with a non-Chinese PM, so I'm struggling with why the non-younger demographics view are more important. Okay, maybe there are more older people than younger people. What is the threshold for this then? Does it mean that if 70% of Singaporeans is okay, then it's okay? Because the 69% from the Black Box survey that said that they preferred Mr. Taman, that sounds like a high enough number to me. Also, this is actually not the most important point. I was reminded of something that our founding father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, said.
And even from my sick bed, even if you are going to lower me into the grave and I feel that something is going wrong, I'll get up.
One of the reasons why Singaporeans or even detractors respect Mr. Lee Kuan Yew is his unwavering resolve when it comes to doing what's right rather than what's acceptable. So when selecting the leader of this red dot nation, is our main consideration on whether Singaporeans are ready for a non-Chinese PM, which by the way is not fully substantiated? Or is there a better consideration around who is the best man or woman to lead our country? And if the people are wrong, should we not steer the people towards the right direction of merits over race? Because to use a cliche example, if we asked people before the Industrial Revolution on what they wanted for transportation, they're going to tell you a faster horse. So do we give up on the car because we make decisions based on popular vote? Now, the controversy arose when Patia, a publication, rebutted Mr. Harpreet on 20th April with 2 articles. The first article highlighted that Mr. Harpreet was wrong in his claim that the PAP had gone against its principles by not putting Mr. Taman as PM. They cited Mr. Taman's refusal in 2016 and 2023. First of all, I'm going to discount the comment from 2023, which is years after, because hindsight can be a funny thing, if you know what I mean. But back to Mr. Taman's 2016 refusal. My initial reaction was that this was a face-saving exercise on Mr. Taman, but I wasn't there, so I'm not going to make a judgment based on hearsay, and I believe that Mr. Taman has agency, so I'll take his word at face value. The problem that I have though is what has Mr. Taman's refusal have to do with the subject of having a non-Chinese PM? If we believe in meritocracy, then let's talk about merits. I think that if there was an acknowledgement that Mr. Taman was offered the opportunity but had then rejected that opportunity, that would have been quite palatable. Then there was a second article on the same day. In that article, it was said that Minister Heng was sharing an observation rather than endorsing any views. Okay, let's discuss that. But before I do that, the article also went on to quote Minister Lawrence Wong from 2021, Minister Shanmugam in 2020, and SM Lee Hsien Loong from 2024. I don't like this sort of red herrings because these are all said after the fact. The incident that Mr. Harpreet referred to happened in 2019, so let's stick to what was said and known at that point in time. Okay, let's talk about that point on Minister Heng observing rather than endorsing. Let me use a recent example. Do any of you remember the POFMA incident with PSP's Mr. Leong Man Wai last year? He was told by a West Coast couple about not getting aid from the government despite their dire health and financial situation. So Mr. Leong then went on a social media tour to bring attention to their story. Turns out the couple lied, and Mr. Leong was served a POFMA correction, and he resigned as Secretary General of his party as a result too. Now, I think as an NCMP with a platform that gives him access to millions of Singaporeans, Mr. Leong is in a position where his words carry more weight than an ordinary citizen. So he really should have exercised more diligence to verify before making that big splash on social media. Now, apply this standard on Mr. Heng. He was asked a question on the PAP's view on the topic. He is the finance minister. He is the prime minister in waiting. His words do not represent the ruling party. I mean, that is a little hard to accept, right? If that's the case, when is it that a politician represents himself or his party? Do we ask that every time moving forward then? Surely not, right? But I do give Minister Heng the benefit of the doubt, just like I did with Mr. Harpreet. The question was put to him during a Q&A. I mean, when you're put on the spot, you got to come up with an answer based on what you know at that point. So it could well be true that it is Mr. Heng's personal opinion rather than a party line. But I guess we'll never know now. So let's look at everything holistically. Mr. Harpreet said PAP did something, then some publication rebutted Mr. Harpreet. By the way, with 2 articles that had no byline to identify the authors, and editing looks a bit questionable, if I'm honest. You know what? I'm going to be fair and apply the same yardstick that the publication used. They had claimed that Mr. Heng was only representing himself. Now, that would lend to the same logic that since this publication did not say that they represented the PAP, we cannot assume that their views are the official PAP position. So who's to say that the alleged aggrieved party, the PAP, agrees or disagrees with Mr. Harpreet's assertions? You know what I think? This whole thing is a nothing burger and everyone should get back to the issues that matters. We are in an election year where Singaporeans are suffering from cost of living, job security. Can we stop with these petty distractions and focus on the things that matters to Singaporeans? And that's what I have to say as we go into nomination day. I'm very much looking forward to making predictions over the next week. By the way, the interview with Mr. Dinesh Dash should be out this Thursday afternoon, so watch this space. And until next time, this is our Red Dot Perspective.